As we started to consider together the ministry of comfort these mornings, very quickly we got to the person of comfort, the person of encouragement, Barnabas, and I think it's fitting that we finish our link of thoughts here with him, and this is in Acts 15:37 and a few more verses, and here we see Barnabas and Paul, who are about to embark on their second missionary journey, and in this second missionary journey, they are going to go with a team as they have done before, and as they had well, actually Paul developed a large team afterwards, and they obviously saw this as a healthy way to do it. So in Acts 15:37, Barnabas determined to take with them John, whose surname was Mark. And Mark had traveled with them earlier in the first missionary trip, but Mark got sort of scared by what he saw, and he just gave up the whole endeavor. He wasn't ready for this. So next verse, but Paul thought not good to take him with them, who departed from them from Pamphylia, and went not with them to the work. In other words, Paul very keenly remembered how Mark had deserted them and left them on their own, and I'm sure it was some source of discouragement for them that one of their companions sort of just gave up the whole thing. But here we see the obvious difference between the two ways of looking at life and people, and it's so obvious, this difference. For a while we have been mentioning this, and this is such a great illustration for that, because one way to look at people is to look at their failure, to look at through their failure. And Paul was definitely excellent at this point. He is really good at this, and he remembers very keenly Mark's failure and sees his messing up, and also he's not interested in looking beyond that. Barnabas, on the other hand, yeah, he saw Mark's failure, but he's also willing to look beyond that, and he's willing very much to see. He's very much willing to see the capacity that Mark had in him, and you know, and if he goes through all the doors that the grace of God opens to him, where his life would lead and where he would go. And Barnabas was very willing to see this, and Paul just doesn't see why it should happen. It's such an interesting difference. Both are men of God, both are great men of God, and Paul just doesn't see why this should happen. He's looking on the practical side of the ministry in the here and now, and he feels this is such a waste of time. He later, of course, realizes this, you know, and even says it in 2 Timothy 4:11. Bring Mark to me, for he is useful for the ministry. You know, there in 2 Timothy he doesn't say, but he might as well have said, you know, as you know, bring him because he's useful for the ministry, as Barnabas foresaw, and what I had been blind to back in the day. And he doesn't say that, but he might as well have said that there, because that's the situation. And that's an important point. This ministry of comfort is something that takes time to realize. It takes time to realize its value, okay? To see its preciousness. It takes time in our lives. It takes experience and brokenness and wisdom and a lot of failures, I'm sure. We easily fail in thinking that practicality and usefulness, it outweighs everything. But in reality, the value of people is so far greater than things, or so far greater than things to be accomplished. You know, it takes time and maturity to realize how necessary this ministry is. Or you could just listen to the Holy Spirit speaking to you even now, and just take hold of this ministry and start growing in it, and start looking at people with the eyes of grace and seeing God's grace for them and ministering to them with this. And then you will have an incredible ministry throughout your life, and much fruit in people's lives, whether you know it or not. God bless you with that truth, and consider, and God bless your day.